applies to us today. Some things have happened in the past, and God still is in control. So anyway, we'll be starting in Proverbs chapter 20, verse 10 today. Proverbs chapter 20, verse 10. Principles from the Word of God that guide us every day. So let's start with a word of prayer, please. Father, thank you for this privilege we have to be in the Scriptures, to be able to study them and apply them to our lives. We thank you that we can have this opportunity. Many countries don't have this, so we have the freedom to do it. We pray that we use it properly to give you honor today. We pray in Jesus' name, amen. Differing weights and differing measures, both of them are an abominable to the Lord. Now, if you have a study Bible, perhaps in the side reference, whatever, you may have the more literal statement, like a weight and a weight, a measure and a measure, or a stone and a stone, an ephod and an ephod. What you have here is you have two sets of weights. Businessmen would carry, the merchantmen would carry around two sets of weights. One of them would be used for selling, one would be used for buying, and of course it was always to the advantage of the merchantman. Of course, that was dishonest. It's purely dishonesty. We all know that ahead of time. But the context now, let's get this verse in context of what we've had in the past. In the past statement we had here, the importance of morality in society. We studied in the past, verse 8, the king's role of scattering immorality, of controlling evil in society. Verse 8, the king who sits in the throne of justice disperses all evil with his eyes. So we see the king has this authority from God to remove evil and to encourage honesty among citizens. But of course we know that the king cannot eliminate all evil. Evil is always here since the fall of man, and will be here till the return of Jesus Christ. So evil's not going to go away. But what is evil? That's a rather abstract term. I mean, I know that all Democrats are evil, but all Democrats look at me, look how evil I am. I mean, come on, it's kind of a long term. What is evil? What is evil? The next verse, verse 9, brought up the issue here. Who can say that I'm pure from sin? So we go from talking about evil to who can say that I'm pure from sin? Secular wisdom, I picked this up. A merchant man cannot be free from sin. Uh-oh. I'm looking around. Do we have merchant people today? I may be getting in trouble. Merchant man cannot be free from sin. That's secular wisdom. But the merchant man would claim, I'm clean. I don't have any sin. Or at least he would say, oh, everybody else does it. Right? Everybody else does it. So they would feel like they are sinless. So the question comes up, what is sin? People have different agreement, different understanding about what sin is. We have that question. It's kind of an abstract term. Well, verse 10 tells you about a concrete term. Verse 10. Differing weights, differing measures, both of them are abominable to the Lord. Now we have something very, very abstract. Very, very abstract. Very, very concrete. That exposes what sin is. This is sin. Scriptures are very clear about how we are to run our business. Proverbs chapter 16, verse 11. A just balance and scale belong to the Lord, and all the weights in the bag are his concern. The Lord is concerned about business. Proverbs chapter 25, verses 14 and 15. You shall not have in your home differing measures, a large and a small. You shall have a full and just weight. You shall have a full and just measure, that your days may be prolonged in the land which the Lord your God gives you. Notice that additional condition. That you may live long in the land. That your life will continue on. Think about the Jewish businessmen. Maybe I have different ideas about Jewish businessmen, but being in Israel and seeing what little bit I have, there's a reputation Jewish people have about business. They're going to win. They're going to make money. They're going to do it somehow. It's going to happen because they're just the way they do that. Well, can you imagine for a businessman and a Jewish background like that, and to have this desire for making money and have to be honest everywhere? that's kind of tough. That's a tough one for them. So that's a real challenge for them. But if you do this, your nation will be prolonged in the days that you may have for a nation. So cheating in business is just something that's every adjective we can get. Make the money somehow. There's something about our country now is that almighty buck. We've got to make money, and whether we cheat or whatever it is, we're going to get money. And I see a lot of schemes going on, and it looks like it's just an avenue to make sure we get money. That's all it is. Make sure we get money, and there's a reason that you even need to make a profit. But the point in this passage is do it honestly. Differing weights and differing measures, both of them are abominable to the Lord. Both of them are abominable. That word, utterly detestable, loathsome, abhorrent. Now, I'm going to use this term in other passages to show you how detestable the Lord sees this, how bad he sees this. In Leviticus chapter 18, we have a list of sexual practices and it sets boundaries on certain practices. And I'm just going to go through the list just to pick out a few of them to show you the detestable part of it. For example, one of them that is forbidden is incest. Leviticus chapter 18, verse 9. The nakedness of your sister, either your father's daughter or your mother's daughter, whether it's born in her home or outside, her nakedness you shall not uncover. Incest. That was forbidden. That's detestable. Another one would be adultery with a brother's wife. Verse 16 of Leviticus chapter 18. You shall not uncover the nakedness of your brother's wife. It's your brother's nakedness. That's the verse that John the Baptist used against Herod Antipas. Okay, this is the one he used. That particular passage. Or homosexuality is listed in this chapter also. Verse 22. You shall not lie with a male as one lies with a female. It is an abomination. In this passage, there's that little clip that I have. It says, what part of thou shalt not do you not understand? There's one of them here. What don't you understand here? This is detestable. It's an abomination. And yet many people in the United States say, hey, let's promote this. This is a good thing. Really, if we start looking at history, it's not a good thing. History will show that this is a very bad thing that's happening. Not a good idea. Or the next verse, verse 23. Sex with animals. You shall not have intercourse with an animal as defiled with it, nor shall a woman stand before an animal to mate with it. It's a perversion. Okay. We see that that's an abomination, detestable. This same word is continued to say here when it sums it all up. Verse 26 of chapter 18. Verse 26. But as for you, you are to keep my statutes and my judgments. You do not do any of these abominations. Neither the native nor the alien, those who sojourn with you. It's an abomination. That's the way God is. Detestable. The same word is used for idolatry and idols. Well, we can see in Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 26. You shall not bring an abomination to your house and like it come under the ban. You shall utterly detest it. You shall only abhor it. It is something banned. So we see with the word abomination, how bad it is, how detestable it is, how abhorrent it is. And that same word is being used in our passage about cheating in business. Chapter 20, verse 10. Same exact word. A paraphrase of this passage I picked up, I will use it just to illustrate. It's kind of interesting how the paraphrase comes out. God hates people who use dishonest weights and measures. That says it, doesn't it? That says it. God hates it. It's detestable. The Mosaic law called cheating in business an abomination. Deuteronomy chapter 25, verse 16. For everyone who does these things, everyone who acts unjustly, is an abomination to the Lord your God. And for Christians, we see that we have more to be expected from us when it comes to business dealings. We have more expected from us. In Matthew chapter 5, verse 40 and 41. If anyone wants to sue you and take your shirt, let him have also your coat. Whoever forces you to go 1 mile, go with him 2. You're expected to do more as a Christian, more than what's expected. I know one particular individual who was a construction person in business. And there was a job that came up, And it was getting down to the closer to Christmas, and this basement got flooded, and pieces needed to be repaired, especially the floor. And so he hired a couple of young contractors, and he, it was kind of an emergency. It's getting down to Christmas Eve. There's going to be a party in this big building, and so he hired these two guys. They're Christian guys, and they went and did a real fast job. But there was some shoddy work that was done with it, and the owner of this place got the construction owner. So this is not acceptable. And the construction owner went there and said, yeah, I agree with you. And it cost him a lot of money to tear up the whole place, do it all over again, make sure it was done right. It really ripped off those two contractors. The subcontractors are really upset with him. In fact, they never ever did any business together with each other anymore. Two Christians, matter of fact. But this Christian businessman that did this extra work, went the extra mile, did the extra thing, his business grew and grew and grew. Hires many people right now. So that extra mile, God blesses that. God sees that and blesses that contractor. We're talking about applying God's daily wisdom. This is hard verses. These verses, Matthew 5, 40 and 41. That's hard verses. But Christians are expected to go the extra mile. And God blesses that. Makes us as Christian people different in this world of the almighty buck. We're different. We have a different person that we're marching with. So it says here, different weights and different measures. Both of them are abominable to the Lord. What type of business practices will we look at? I just went through a few of them that I thought kind of might be applied. And there's dozens and dozens more we could apply. But just listen to a few little examples I got here. You take a car that's been in a flood, like down in Mississippi Valley or something like that, the flood in the river, and cars underwater for about 3 days, and it's condemned. Take the title away, you just condemn it. Somebody picks up that car and I can repair this thing, and gets it all put back together and sells it with the title again, and you don't know it's been under a flood for 3 days. And then you drive for a few days, you get this smell bad, and don't know what that smell is. They look under the seat and there's some bubbles of the fish. Now, where'd that thing come from? Nobody knew about that. Dishonest business practices. Or similarly, you have a car that's totaled car. And yet, today's totaling, I've been in insurance business, insurance adjusting a business, and totaling a car then was really amazing, but it's even more amazing today because prices are so high. But you total a car, well, it's not much damage. We can repair that car. It's been totaled. You fix the car up, you sell it, tell nobody about the past damage. I saw a person buy a car, very, very similar to my car. And I know, and I can see my car, the precision today of how they put the computer makes the parts so precise today. It used to be, if you had a half-inch gap between the fender and the roof, that was okay. Nobody cared. But today, with computer technology, you're down to eighth of an inch. It's really tight. And I see this construction, I see this person bought this new car. Look, I bought a new car. It's a lady. And I see the gaps in the fender to the hood. And I didn't say anything, but I could see very clearly this thing had been rebuilt from a total crash. Nobody knew that car had been through a crash. Couldn't tell. But it had been. Those type of things. The worst example, of course, is counterfeit money. Counterfeit money, obviously, you're getting good money for bad money. Money that doesn't. I had one person give me, it was amazing. They paid me a couple of $50 bills for some service I did, and they brought it right from the bank, apparently. And the integrity of this person, if I mention who it was, some of you know them, you know that they weren't trying to cheat me. I take it to, I went to buy something. That's not really a $50 bill, that's a counterfeit. Are you kidding me? I took it back to the person, and they were shocked. They said they got it right from the bank. Counterfeit money. Or another good one, this is a farmer's trick. You go to the scale to weigh your truck before you go load up on an empty gas tank. You go load up, and they make sure you fill the gas tank up when you go back. Oh, that's cool, isn't it? You take about 110 gallons and add it up. There's a little bit of weight that goes in there, just a little bit more. Or how about the grocery business? Half a gallon ice cream. Anybody ever bought a half a gallon ice cream lately? Can you find a half a gallon ice cream anymore? No. I thought they were half gallons until it's like, I had to calculate this. Go back to my high school math and figure this out again. It's not a half a gallon anymore, is it? Well, how about the inflation just hit just recently? Anybody bought toilet paper lately? Used to be 250 slices a roll or whatever. Now it's 200 because inflation take over. You got the same roll, don't you? Oh, yeah, right, sure. No. Did you know this difference? Ha, ha, ha. You got took. Isn't that good? But the grocery business is a lot of things. You see a lot of the stuff there. It looks like a big box of something, but really there's a whole lot less in there. My key one, because I got in the water operating business, I use chlorine. Chlorine. Clorox brand chlorine, 6%. You go to the store and there's a whole bunch of options there. Oh, this is a whole lot cheaper, isn't it? It's the same gallon, same thing. It doesn't have the Clorox name on it. It must be a better deal because it doesn't have Clorox on the name. And you pick it up, take it home and say, wait a minute, they told me it used to be a half a cup to add to a gallon to make this work. Now I got to put a cup and a half. Now, what happened here? Why do I have to get a cup and a half here? Oh, the percentage of chlorine in here is like half of Clorox. Really? Did you know that? Did you see that on the emblem anybody? That it came in the same gallon, same size. There, look, it had chlorine in it. You're happy, aren't you? No, you just got took. You just got took. I think I've told this one before. Darigold. You have to buy Darigold. It's a better product. Obviously, pay more money because it's a better product. Except you go to the Spokane place where the milk is made, and here comes the line. Darigold this way, Lucerne this way. Lucerne and Darigold, the same exact milk. But Lucerne's, it's a horrible brand. You should never buy that. It's cheap stuff. Yeah, it comes off the same one. And you got took. Or how about getting a rebate debit card? $100 rebate debit card. Gosh, I mean, it's just like, it's really cool. $100 right there. But you read this small print and it says, every month we deduct $4 off of it. And you go back 3 months later, it's $88. Isn't that cool? Somebody's got the deal. I mean, I wish I was the guy that had the other side, the other end of this thing, getting $4 out of you every month. That's cool. Or the medical profession is really good at maximizing the cost of your visit. You go in there to have one particular procedure, and suddenly there's all these added costs. So you get a bill from a doctor you didn't even see. Where'd this doctor come from? I don't know who he is. But you got to pay his bill. And then you go in there and all these things that you did not ask for and did not use but are there, charged to you. Boom, boom, boom. All these things. Where'd this thing come? I never even saw this thing, but they charge you anyway. And then whatever's neat, they give you a $10,000 bill and expect you to pay it if you have cash. But if the insurance company offers them $2,500, they're happy as can be. How did that one go? Oh, see, they take the $7,500 and they deduct that as a loss. They lost that. Nice tax adjustment there. That's really cool. 2 sets of stones. Whatever it may be here, you have to beware. You have to beware. We have legal ways to make more money with less input. So even though we make things legal today to do these things, everything I mentioned is legal, pretty much, but you still have to beware. I have many, many other examples. Financial world, oh my goodness. Insurance world, oh. Internet world, oh, don't even talk about that. So many other situations where the issue is the seller has the advantage. He has the stones. He has the set. And you as the buyer have to beware because what you're looking at may not be quite as good as what they advertise. The bottom line, they're trying to get money out of your pocket into their pocket. That's all that's going on. And there's a lot of, today, legal ways they do that. I mean, I mentioned several things that look kind of shabby, but it's all okay because we all do that. But there's many things we've got to be very much aware of. So the thing of it is here is when it gets down to cheating in business, the bottom line is it's an abomination. We don't call it cheating because it's legal, but it's still an abomination when it happens. Okay, let's go on. Verse 11. Verse 11. It is by his deeds that a lad distinguishes himself in his conduct, if his conduct is pure and right. By the way, I put here in parentheses even. The New American Standard does not pick up the adverb at the very beginning of this verse. This word even brings up the issue also, or moreover, or besides. There's some added content to the previous subject. If you look at the New American Standard, you just think it's all by itself. But this verse is related to what we just talked about. So verse 11 is describing an additional comment. Men can say they did not sin, but facts prove the other way, don't they? We know that. They can say that, I did not sin. They can say that. Or just look at the practices of the business world, which are considered to be cheating by the Lord, an abomination to him. Different weights, different measures, both of them are abomination. People say a lot of things. They will present facts to you that says, well, look at the deal that you're getting. And you have to sit there and say, now don't listen to what they say. What they say may not be really, really true. And so when you look at this issue, they say these things. Perhaps we should learn a lesson from children. How do you evaluate children? By what they say? Do you evaluate your child and say, oh, whatever he said is true. It's true because he said it. Or by what they do? By what they say or what they do? Well, if you're a parent and you just say go by what they say, you are a foolish parent. You've got to follow what they do. So if that's true for children, why is it different for adults? Or maybe it's the same for adults. The English Standard Version and the New International Version takes this section and says, even a child makes himself known by his actions. I like that translation much better because the word there, distinguish in the New American Standard, is causative. This evidence causes us to know what is in the child and what the child has done. Even a child makes himself known by his actions. The actions produce something we can see and evaluate. The best witness that we have in any type of a trial situation is a person who saw something. Not what you heard necessarily, what you saw. That's the best evidence. What did the parent see? What does a parent see? What type of actions? What type of thing? Is his conduct pure and right? The word pure, by the way, the word pure is flawless, upright, innocent. Proverbs chapter 20, verse 8, 21, verse 8. The way of a guilty man is crooked, but is pure and his conduct is upright. The word right that we have in our passage is this word upright in verse 21. His conduct is upright. It is going down a road that has no bumps and no curves. It's a very straight, long road. Straight. You can trust it. So have we made up some new rules just because we become adults? We're supposed to take what they say and not worry about their actions? Oh, but for children, we have to be concerned about what they say, but much, much more we see what they do. Are the rules different now because we became adults? Talk is real powerful, but actions are confirming. Talk is cheap. When we talk about ourselves, how much is truth and how much do we overlook? I'll think that through. When we talk about ourselves, how much is truth and how much is overlooked? When we write up our resumes, do we tell them about every time we've been fired and why we've been fired and why nobody wants to hire us? Do we tell them all those things? Or do we kind of brush over those type of stuff? Well, we list a credit application. Do we list all our bad debts? We pass over that. Or what's on your Facebook page? What's on your Facebook page? Is it all true? Is it really revealing? Why should we expect to see absolute truth when somebody's talking about themselves? We expect people to brag about themselves, to fudge some facts, to hide some things, because people naturally believe in themselves. Proverbs chapter 16, verse 2, all the ways of man are clean in his own eye, but the Lord weighs his motives. Could we say that when we talk about ourselves, that we have an agenda? We have an agenda? It's to make ourselves look good. That's what we're trying to do. And it's naive for people to fall for everything we say, everything that comes out without verification. Even a child is known by their actions, not their words. So whenever we talk to somebody, especially when we're talking about somebody with a little bit of, there's a possibility of guilt behind it, don't expect to get the whole truth just because they say something about themselves. That's especially true in police interrogation. You never expect to get the whole truth when you interview somebody about a crime. You just don't expect it. You make sure you verify it with facts or other information. Now, there are exceptions. I've got to back off. There are exceptions. There's a few people who reveal everything about themselves, more than you want to know, frankly. But they'll tell you. There are a few of those people out there. I got to put that aside. And spouses should expect to have this openness between each other. Families, in general, should be more exposed to each other's ills and wrongs. There are deathbed confessions where they spilled the beans. Many years ago, the HIV thing was real. Oh, it's because of sex with somebody, blah, blah. Oh, no, I never did that. No, I never did that. Until they go to their deathbed and they find, okay, I'll tell you the truth. Those type of things happen. But most of the time, outside verification is necessary. Actions are necessary. We need to see that. Especially like marriage counseling. You don't go by what one person says. As a matter of fact, you discount that a lot. You have to talk about getting information, get the other side of the story. Or criminals, for sure. You don't ever take their word. You go get somebody else to verify what's going on. Why does your company need a background investigation? Why can't they just take your word? Well, because your word isn't that good. So even churches today, with Christians coming in, with a teacher in Sunday school, we have to get this background verification. Too bad that we can't take the word of a Christian. Too bad, isn't it? We don't rely upon what a child says. We look at their actions. What have they done? And that's good parenting, obviously. Good parenting. And when we get older as adults, we still must have that. What did they do? Get some verification. Reality of this world is an affront to the Christian life. What's happening in our world is an affront to being a Christian. This is what a Christian should be. Ephesians chapter 4, verse 25. Therefore, laying aside falsehood, speak truth. Truth. Each one to another. Your word should be it. That's what the Christian life should be. Believers, we are living under a higher standard. This is the high standard that a Christian should live under. For example, one Christian man, he was a very, very influential national type figure in a political type movement. And he was making some waves against the administration at that time. And he got audited by the IRS. No, that doesn't happen, does it? I know that doesn't happen. No, nobody ever gets audited just because they're making waves, right? Sure, but anyway, it happened. And he said, I was glad to have the IRS show up. I opened my books. I told them everything. They went through all my books, did everything. They ended up paying me money because I didn't pay them. Or they didn't, I paid too much. They paid me back. Truth. The truth came out. And since that time, he's never been audited. They found out they had somebody they couldn't find something wrong with. He told the truth. Told the truth. So let's see. Let's go on to verse 12. Let's continue on here. The hearing ear and the seeing eye, and the Lord has made both of them. Unfortunately, the world is filled with evil. since the fall of man. And mankind tends toward the baser side, the evil side of their personality. Man can say that they're cleansed from sin, verse 9, but they're not. Man may observe, we have to observe their actions, not their word, their actions. We can observe because God the Creator gave us the tools to observe. Eyes and ears. Eyes and ears. Verse 12 affirms the truth that God is a creator and he gave us the ability to see and to hear. This is a creation verse. By the way, evolutionists cannot explain how the eye or the ear evolved. They don't know how it happened. It is said that Darwin felt sick every time that he thought of the honeycombs of the bee, the eye, or the tail feathers of a peacock, because he couldn't explain it by evolutionary principle. He got sick thinking about that. The British botanist, who was an evolutionist, D.H. Scott, said, "A new generation has grown up which knows not Darwin." Because even then, evolution not scientifically interesting fact. No! We must hold it as an act of faith. Notice that? We must hold evolution as an act of faith because there's no alternative. We've got to hold on to evolution because there's no alternative. No alternative. The only alternative is special creation by God. That's not acceptable. It's off the charts. Don't even talk about that one. So we have to hold on to evolution. So based upon that, I want you to see the point. Evolution, you must have faith to believe it. And this verse that we have says, God is a creator. It takes faith to believe that, doesn't it? Wait a minute, let's put this here. We have a choice. Believe that all the evolutionists say about the origins of life, and believe it, believe it, believe it. Or believe what the Bible says about the origin of life. Which one you got to choose from? You got those two choices. Norman Geisler wrote the book, I Don't Have Enough Faith to Be an Evolutionist. I love that book. I don't have enough faith to be an evolutionist. What's your choice between those two? Man's view or God's view? So these wonderful things we call eyes and ears, we should use them to God's glory because he has created them for us. To observe that people work in a way that's pure and right, as we have back in verse 11. To observe that people are using diverse weights in selling and buying, verse 10. To observe these things. To be observant if and when crime happens. And to be able to report to the authorities what you saw. To be alert. Or an accident happens and you saw it. And you hear what happened. And you're able to report these things. So how do we gather information? They say that there are 5 ways in which we gather information. We got ear, we got eye, we have mouth, we have the nose, it's not dinner yet, don't get there, and we have feel. Those are the 5 gates. Everything comes through those 5 gates that we have. Of those 5, we think that probably the eyes and the ears are the most important. Others are effective, but these are the most important. And so, like in the teaching profession, it is best if you get everything involved. All of them, eyes and ears. For many, many years in preaching, ears, that's all you need. We were an ear-hearing society. And people listened and heard. And then we got TV. Oops. Now we become a sight-learning people. And so adding something to see besides what you hear. And then get the feelings going on. I have to work on something about getting your nose working when I'm teaching so it works better. But I haven't got that one figured out yet. Anything you can use help in teaching. So we've got these things that come through these gates into our soul. How does it shape our world? Academically, how do we learn? And what do we learn? And it all comes through those gates. Or spiritually, thinking about who we listen to and how we respond to things comes through our eyes and our ears. Our personality affects how we talk and what we say because of what we heard or what we smelled or what we feel. Who are our friends? Comes in the issue of sight, ears, what we feel. How do we evaluate those who become our friends? Or more important, in this passage, how do we get wisdom? Proverbs 22, verse 17. Incline your ear and hear the words of the wise, and apply your mind to my knowledge. And how do we use wisdom? How do we use wisdom? Psalm 40, verses 6 through 8. Sacrifice and meal offering you have not desired. My ears you have opened. Burnt offering and sin offering you have not required. Then I said, behold, I come in the scroll of the book that's written to me. I delight to do your will, O my God. Your law is within my heart. Where did that come from? From my ears. He got that from his ears. What does a fool do with his eyes? Proverbs chapter 17, verse 24. Wisdom in the presence of one who has understanding, but the eyes of the fool are on the ends of the earth. How do they use their eyes? How do we use our eyes? God gave them to us. Next verse, let's talk about using our eyes. Next verse, verse 13. Do not love sleep, or you will become poor. Open your eyes, and you will be satisfied with food. We all need sleep. Don't we love to sleep? Man, I'm finding out age is getting the best of me. It used to be I could stay up till 10:30, 11 o'clock. Fine, I'm good. 10 o'clock, 9:30, 9, 8:30, 8 o'clock. 8:30, 8 o'clock's pretty good now. It's getting better all the time. Love sleep. And there's nothing wrong with it. Proverbs chapter 3, verse 24. When you lie down, you will not be afraid. When you lie down, your sleep will be sweet. One person was talking about not a drug, but a vitamin type situation mix that they take and say, oh, I take that and my sleep is wonderful. Wonderful sleep. Just go out and you're gone for good. So there's nothing wrong with loving sleep. The problem is loving sleep more than getting your daily provisions and necessities. Proverbs chapter 19, verse 15. Laziness casts into a deep sleep, and an idle man will suffer hunger. Notice in our particular passage here, we have, excuse me, I've got it back here. In our particular passage here, notice here we have antithetical parallelism. Do not love sleep, contrast, open your eyes. You will become poor, in contrast, satisfied with food. So notice here the contrast, this antithetical parallelism. So we see here that the sleeping son, the one who loves sleep, so he becomes poor, is a shame to his parents. Proverbs chapter 10, verse 5. He who gathers in the summer is a son who acts wisely. He who sleeps in harvest is a son who acts shamefully. Sleeps in the harvest. It's interesting, these lazy people find many, many reasons not to work. Of course, we'll come to this passage in the future. But what a great excuse. Proverbs 22, verse 13. The sluggard says, there's a lion outside, I'm going to be killed. Any excuse works. And of course, this is satire. Extreme funny, like stupid. But that's the type of thing they come up with. And that laziness causes poverty. Proverbs chapter 19, verse 15. And their laziness will cause poverty. Laziness casts into a deep sleep, and an idle man will suffer hunger. When we go to the New Testament, Paul says a similar thing in this way. 2 Thessalonians 3:10. For even when we were with you, we used to give you this as an order. If anyone is not willing to work, then he should not eat either. Wouldn't that be amazing if this was national policy? National policy for welfare, whatever. If you don't work, you don't get any welfare. You've got to work first. Wow. You don't eat. But today we have a professional, lazy population. They work. They work hard not to work. And the government encourages it and allows it. It's hard to see this happen in our country. And it's very hard for us who want to help people, really help people, to find people who really need help. That are not just out there being professional, lazy people, but they really do need help. And when those type of people come up, I think we should try to help them. But it's hard to find them. Hard to find them. What lazy people need to do is open their eyes. And what would they see if they opened their eyes? Verse 5, going on with our passage here. Open your eyes and you'll be satisfied with food. Now, if they did open their eyes, could they possibly see this? Proverbs 6:6. Go to the ant, O sluggard. Observe. That means open your eyes, right? You got to have the eyes there. Observe her ways and be wise. You mean you expect me to learn from the lowly ant? I'm better than that. Well, if you were, you wouldn't be in the condition you are as a lazy person. So we see here that they come up and think that they have more wisdom than anybody else, and they're lazy. It should be very humiliating for a lazy person to look at an ant and say, they're doing better than I am. They should observe something. But the problem is, they're wiser than you. Proverbs 26, verse 16. The sluggard is wiser in his own eyes than 7 men who give a discreet answer. But if they ever come to that ant and look at that ant, they would become wise and change their lifestyle. And what would happen? They would be satisfied with food. The word satisfied is a word that's used for the state of physical contentment. Everything in their physical life is met. They have all their needs met. That's the word satisfied in this passage. It's a very material type thing. A state of physical contentment. And satisfied with food in this passage, in this translation, some of your translations have the word bread. That's a better translation. And bread is always used as a term all throughout the Bible as a status of meeting your basic needs. If you get their bread for the day, all your needs are met. Proverbs chapter 12, verse 11 says this, he who tills his land will have plenty of bread. Okay, that's meeting all your needs. All your needs. Not your wants, but your needs. So the Bible says, go out and work. There's great benefits if you go out and work because you'll be able to help other people. Ephesians chapter 4, verse 28. He who steals must steal no longer, but rather must labor, performing with his own hands what is good, so that he will have something to share with one who has need. We're in the Christmas season, right? Time to share, supposedly this month. Not July, not June, not April, but December is that month to do that, right? This is a great verse. Go out and work. Then you can be able to share with somebody who has need. And there's a great benefit. It's more blessed to give than to receive. Do not love sleep or you become poor. Open your eyes and you'll be satisfied. The sluggard doesn't have an answer there. The sluggard can pretend to be wise, thinks he's wiser than anybody else, but he's really a fool. He's really a big fool. And he has all this other aspect of life to be satisfied. To be satisfied, that's a big word there. And having more than you need and be able to give to others. That's a great satisfaction to have. And we have a life today that's very, very possible. We have a society where that's possible. We have an economy that's possible. Praise God, we get to do this. Let's close in prayer, please. Father, thank you for this time in the Word. And we see all this encouragement and guidance that you give us from your wisdom. Thank you in Jesus' name. Amen.